Okay, welcome everyone to LeadUpTeach on YouTube Live with myself, Elizabeth Bostwick, and my co-hosts Heidi Veal and Laura Gilchrist. I teach fourth grade in the Finger Lakes region of New York, and I'm passionate about fostering a true love of learning within all students by immersing them in Makerspace, PBL, and passion projects while also inspiring them to ignite their shine. Tonight on this exciting 19th episode of LeadUpTeach, we're welcoming Laura Fleming. Laura is a library media specialist at New Milford High School in New Milford, New Jersey. She's also the author of the best-selling book, Worlds of Making, Best Practices for Establishing a Makerspace for Your School. Tonight on the 19th episode of LeadUpTeach, we're going to hear about Laura's mission to inspire teachers to create great makerspaces. Heidi, please take a minute to introduce yourself.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Sorry for the barking. The family just got home and the dog is excited to see the boys. I'm Heidi Veal. I'm an assistant principal at an early childhood campus in North Texas. And we kicked off with our own makerspace last year and called it Plakerspace in our library area. And so I'm just passionate about innovative ideas in early childhood education especially. I'm a co-founder and co-host here of LeadUpTeach and also ECE Chat on Tuesday nights. And then Laura, introduce yourself.
Is it my turn?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Well, hello, everybody. I'm Laura, instructional coach in Kansas City at Turner High School. It's my second year in that role. I taught middle schoolers science and social studies for 20 beautiful years. I want an education system in which students and teachers self-identify as learners and leaders. I also want to dissolve the fortress wall schools and cities. We keep kids locked inside schools doing book work until they're 18, and then we lift up the walls and let the kids out to the real world with very little experience. Making and maker mindset are so important to changing this for kids. And that, my friends, is just part of the reason I'm thrilled to welcome Laura Fleming to episode 19 of LeadUpTeach. Thank you so much for joining us today, Laura. Please introduce yourself to our viewers.
Sure. As you already heard, I'm Laura Fleming, and I am a library media specialist at New Milford High School in New Milford, New Jersey. I'm also the author of a book on makerspaces, and as a result of that book, I've had the honor and the opportunity of working with schools all across the nation in planning and creating makerspaces. I'm thrilled to be here with all of you tonight. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, welcome, Laura. And we also want to give a special welcome to our LeadUp audience here on YouTube. And we invite everyone to use the hashtag of LeadUpTeach to connect and participate with the chat, both during and after the conversation.
To get us started this evening, Laura, will you please share about that the inspiring educator you are today?
Sure. Well, it feels absolutely crazy for me to say, but I have been teaching for 20 years now. Oh my gosh, it goes so fast. And at this point in my career, I've taught grades K through 12, both as a classroom teacher, that's where I started, and also, of course, as a school librarian, and teaching all grade levels, and especially starting out in the classroom and then moving into the library has given me this perspective that has really been invaluable to me, not only in my career as an educator, myself, but it's proven to be especially useful now that I've had the chance to work with schools across the nation. I feel like I can really identify with educators, no matter what it is they teach, no matter what grade level they teach or what they're doing.
Well, Laura, it's easy to see that you are incredibly passionate about supporting and empowering teachers to develop great makerspaces. Please share with us your why behind this.
Yeah, really, it's been since the book has come out, and in working with so many school districts in planning and creating their maker spaces with them, I have learned a ton, as you can imagine. I think that the most important thing that I've learned is that really anybody can create a maker space, right? But there's a difference between a maker space and a great makerspace. So that's really where my work has focused over the past few years. I think it's crucial that we make the distinction between makerspaces and great makerspaces to preserve and protect the future of makerspaces in schools. This is something that I'm incredibly passionate about. Great makerspaces are unique and meet school communities. And not only are they vibrant for now, but they're also sustainable into the future, which is something that many people overlook, and it's super important to consider. So that really has been the focus of my work as of late, helping schools not only to create maker spaces, but helping them to create great maker spaces.
Well, I really appreciate how you're making the distinction between a great makerspace and a makerspace, because as you said, anybody can create a makerspace within their school. So I would love to hear from you too, and in what ways can schools begin to create truly great makerspaces for students?
Well, first of all, it's really all about proper planning, and so many people overlook that. They go out and they buy the stuff first. You know, I get inquiries all the time from schools, and most of the time they tell me how much money they have and they want to know from me what they should buy. And I always say, wait a minute, hold on, there's so much more that needs to come before that. So it's really all about proper planning. And I think many people think that maker spaces are about the stuff or about the kits or about the technology. And yes, the stuff can be nice sometimes. And, you know, it isn't always about that though at all. It's about creating a unique learning environment that allows for tinkering, play, and open-ended exploration for all students. And that can happen with stuff or without stuff. I believe that great maker spaces democratize learning, and they inspire students to want to make. So if anyone listening tonight is on Instagram and wants to know more, I actually have a series, a little mini series that I've been hosting on Instagram calling Making Great Maker Spaces. My Instagram handle is Laura Fleming 3025. So if you're on Instagram, I'd love for you to check out my little series on making great maker spaces, because as I've been saying tonight, there really is a distinction between just making a maker space and making a great maker space.
So let's shift in mindsets of teachers, educators to value making, particularly those who are skeptical.
Yeah, that's a tricky question for me to answer. I guess I hope that showing everyone how powerful this movement has been and is still for kids is what will ultimately win people over. No one can argue with what works best for kids. I also try to emphasize that many people associate makerspaces with STEM, but they don't have to be about STEM at all. It's about uncovering a space that works best for your school community. And sometimes that means it's going to be STEM related, and sometimes it means it's not going to be. I also try to emphasize to educators that there isn't a one-size-fits-all model for creating a makerspace in schools. I think sometimes we look at what other schools are doing and think, oh, I could never do that. I can't do that. My schedule isn't like that. My space isn't like that. My budget isn't like that, and so on. But it's really about doing it in a way that works best for you, your school community, and for everyone in your school community. And for every school, that's different. So I always say that no two school maker spaces should be exactly alike, because no two school communities are exactly alike. So I think all of those things combined help to put a lot of minds at ease with people who are reluctant to enter this space, or at least I hope.
So I see where people start creating maker spaces that they, if they don't have the mindset there, like a lot of teachers will see it as a place to take your kids, and only for science teachers. You know, that it's just a place for certain teachers to take their kids at certain times, but only during certain lessons. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, part of that planning process is making those connections to the different content areas in your school and developing themes that are unique and meaningful to your school community. But that can encompass anything and everything. And as I said, great maker spaces democratize learning. That means that the space is available and accessible to everyone, not just one type of teacher, not just one type of student. It's a space for the entire school community. community. And really the role of a teacher changes so much in a makerspace. You're more of a facilitator than anything else. So it truly doesn't need to take the teacher, for example. It really can be anybody, even a school librarian who facilitates that space. You know, every single day I am lucky enough to learn from my students. Sometimes I'm the teacher and they're the student, but most of the time I'm learning right alongside them or from them. And it really has been the most rewarding thing that has ever happened to me in my career. And I encourage educators to step outside of their traditional roles and embrace those opportunities to learn with their students and from their students. It really should be a student-driven learning environment. That's what we're trying to create.
Wow, Laura, I'm hanging on your every word. It's terrific. So recently, speaking about your words, you recently wrote a blog post on culture in a transformed library. Share with us some of your greatest highlights from that post.
Absolutely. You know, great makerspaces are all about the culture as well, but so are great libraries. And, you know, I get inquiries a lot from educators, not only about makerspaces, but also about libraries. And many of the librarians or administrators that I hear from regarding their libraries are concerned because their libraries are not used. And specifically, I'm talking about non-prep librarians or non-prep libraries. I think when a library is a prep, students are dropped off at the library and the library is always used by those students. But when we're talking about non-prep librarians or non-prep libraries, students aren't necessarily dropped off at the door. So a lot of the times what happens, because students aren't necessarily assigned to those spaces, the library ends up being unused. So I get inquiries from people who say, you know, my library is not used, so we thought that going out and renovating our library was going to bring the kids in, when in fact we did that and our library is still not used. Can you help us? And I've had many Skype calls, Google Hangouts with these schools who pan their library and show me these beautiful facilities and nobody's in them. And it really comes down to the culture. So that piece that I wrote really tried to discourage people from just going out and renovating their library, thinking that that would be the solution for getting it to be a vibrant, meaningful part of their school community. But really, it comes down to the culture. And a lot of the things that you can do to transform the culture of a library don't really cost anything at all, and most of them are free. So those are the things that I tried to highlight in that article. And once you establish the culture in your library, once you transform that culture, if you do move forward with a renovation, I feel that you'll make smarter choices, you'll make wiser decisions, because the things that you choose to do in your space will directly reflect and also complement the culture that you have already running through your space.
That's wonderful. And so, Laura, would you recommend that schools also touch base with students to see what they'd be interested in having in their makerspaces?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for me, the planning process begins with the voice of the learner. Without the voice of the learner, you really just have a bunch of stuff in a corner. I think it's critical to get their input and their feedback. And that's where my planning process starts. You know, talking to the kids, getting a really good pulse on their needs, their wants, their interests, and including them in the process of not only planning your space, but also rolling out, managing, and facilitating your space. I think the more of a role students have in that process, the more ownership they feel over the space, and most likely it will help you establish that student-driven learning environment you're trying to create.
Yeah, everything you're saying is so insightful, and I think it's so valuable for those who are wondering how to start a makerspace and really to be focusing on the culture of the school first. So if you could share one thing that you would like Lead Up teachers to walk away with or go out and do to make a difference, what would that be?
I think especially in terms of makerspaces, It's crucial that we work on changing the narrative in order to save them from being just a trend. As you can imagine, that's like my biggest fear. And I think part of that is having educators understand that they do not just have to be STEM, not about the stuff. And yes, as I said, the stuff can be nice, but it doesn't have to be just about the stuff. And understanding that the role of a teacher in a makerspace is very different than a classroom. I think oftentimes we see these spaces turning into STEM classrooms. And STEM classrooms can be great, don't get me wrong, but they're not necessarily maker spaces. So I think that, you know, we've all been hearing, especially connected educators like us, we've been hearing about maker spaces for years now. But I think it's time that we shift the conversation to not just creating maker spaces, but the importance of creating those great maker spaces that I've been talking about tonight. I think the future of maker spaces depends on it.
Well, as we wrap up, will you please share what's coming up for you and how our listeners can connect with you in the future?
Sure. I'm proud to say that I've been doing a ton of work with Mackin Educational Resources, so definitely check out their Mackin Maker division. I just love, absolutely genuinely love the philosophy behind what they're doing. And so we've been doing some things together, and I'm really excited for things that we're going to be doing in the future together. And I'm hoping that, you know, together, you know, it's a team effort, really. I'm only one person and I can only do so much. So I'm hoping that together we can make this idea of great maker spaces that much more pervasive. I also have a digital academy, and I continue to roll out makerspace courses there. So I would love people to check out those courses. And I might have a surprise or two that I'm going to be able to announce in the future, but can't really talk about tonight. But I'm excited for what's to come, that's for sure. And I'm all over Twitter, so if anybody ever wants to reach out to me, that's an easy place to find me. My website is worldsofmaking.com. There's lots of information on there as well. And I will be at ISTE, which I'm really excited about. I don't get out much, so this will be really exciting. And I'd love to make some face-to-face connections.
What is your website?
I have a blog. My blog is worlds-of-learning.com, but I also have a website that's just about makerspaces. It's called worldsofmaking.com.
And are the courses you spoke about, are those linked on there?
Yeah, on worldsofmaking.com, there's information on the book, on professional development, which includes those makerspace courses, which, by the way, they're not all taught by me. They're taught by members of my PLN, which is something I'm really excited about. You know, I strongly believe, as I said, this is a team effort, and getting as many voices and perspectives into this movement as possible is really important as well.
Well, Laura, I think I have some friends in mind that would be amazing for you to connect with to talk about makerspaces in early childhood spaces. I love also that you shared about Instagram and connecting with you there. So be sure, viewers, if you are on Instagram, that you're connecting with Laura there too.
And I love
Thank you so much.
I love the idea of early childhood makerspaces too. I have worked with schools and created makerspaces for pre-K, and there's so much there, you know, for those kids as well, even at that young age. So that's exciting. Yes. Excellent. Thanks, Heidi.
I'd love to, offline, I'd love to share more with you about what Makerspace looked like at Lawson last year.
Absolutely. Can't wait.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for giving of your time tonight so generously and for sharing your expertise. Your comment about Makerspace is really about democratizing learning. It has just really sunk in with me, and not just a makerspace, but a great makerspace, because really, like you were going back to, it's all about the relationships really and the culture. And if that's not foundational, then all it is a bunch of stuff in a place. It's a flash in the pan that comes and goes because it was a fad. And what it really should be is that place you talked about, you learn as much from the students as they learn with you. So it was just amazing. We also want to thank everyone who tuned in tonight to Lead Up Teach, and know that you can always come back and rewatch the episodes because the links are right there in our Lead Up Teach YouTube channel. So please share and retweet the episode tonight and share it with other friends in your PLN.
Absolutely. We will definitely be sharing out tonight's Lead Up Teach episode on Twitter using the hashtag of Lead Up Teach. And Laura, it truly was an honor to connect with you and learn from you. You're somebody who I've admired for so long, so this has been a really exciting episode.
Well, right back at all of you. Thank you so much for having me on tonight. I'm totally honored.
We are excited to announce the date and time of our next Lead Up Teach. We want you to mark your calendar for episode 20, which will air on Thursday, February 23rd at 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. And our guest will be Katie Martin on the topic of professional learning that shifts practice. And she is out on the West Coast, so that would be 5:30.
Good deal. So between now and then, we hope that everyone will continue to connect with one another using the hashtag LeadUpTeach and checking out the episodes on the YouTube channel. And we're signing off tonight. So we say goodbye, Laura. Thank you again. And good night. Lead on and lead up.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Laura.
Bye.